After his victory over the Tartars in 1196 and his return to power on the steppe, Temujin had to consolidate his position. We're told by the sources, while he was on campaign against the Tartars, the Gurkhan, another clan of the Mongol tribe, failed to come to join the expedition and allegedly raided Temujin's camp and killed some of his men while he was away. Angered, over the winter of 1196 to 1197, Temujin struck out at them, killing their princes and their leader, Sakabeki. This was a bit of an issue, as these were his relations, and it is somewhat suspected that the Gurkhan attack was a fabrication to justify his killing of Sakabeki and the Gurkhan leaders. Sakabeki had been one of the lead men of the Mongol tribe and could have contested the position of Khan that Temujin perhaps precariously held on to after his defeat at Dal and Beljut. So it is handy for Temujin that he got a reason to kill Sakabeki and his men, removing a possible threat to him. In 1198, Temujin's main ally, Toghrul, was proving himself rather intransient as well, as that year he campaigned against the Merkit tribe, killing the son of Toqto'a Beki, the man who had kidnapped Borte around 1180. Generously, Toghrul gave no loot to Temujin after that successful campaign. Remember, the year before, Temujin had given Toghrul a considerable amount of loot to get him back onto his feet, so it was not a good showing from his ally, seemingly disregarding Temujin like this. Still, Temujin gritted his teeth and ignored it, as he still needed Toghrul in his military aid. The big event came in 1199, the last year of the 12th century, with the death of the Khan of Naiman, Inanc. The Naiman had so far played little role in our story, but this should not underplay their importance. They were, until this point, the most powerful and cohesive tribe on the steppe, controlling western Mongolia into Kazakhstan and Russia. United, they stood out of Temujin's reach. But with Inanc's death in 1199, things changed. He split his realm between his sons Borochu and Taiyang, giving the better land to Taiyang, leading to a rift between the two brothers. Temujin and Toghrul, eyeing them like hawks, decided that this was as good a time as any to break up the largest steppe power, and marched on the weaker brother, Borochu. His military prowess was improving, and Temujin and Toghrul routed Borochu and were on their way back to their own territory when they ran into another army, led by Koksu Sabrak, the best general of Taiyang Khan, who was not taking too kindly to Mongols and Karyots marching through Naiman land. After a brief skirmish, night fell and forced the two sides to set up camp across from each other, awaiting daylight to start the battle anew. Now, the secret history of the Mongols tells us that Jamuhka, Temujin's wily old Anda, was with Toghrul's army and convinced Toghrul that Temujin had sided with the Naiman and both armies were going to descend onto Toghrul the next day. Was Jamuhka present? Is this the secret history trying to show us another example of his villainy, tricking poor, hapless Toghrul into leaving Temujin? Tough to say. Perhaps they were just looking for an excuse for Toghrul's unreliability and didn't want to lay it all on Toghrul himself. Although, the secret history had effectively portrayed him consistently as an idiot so far. Whatever it was, Toghrul and his army packed up and left the camp in the night, and were promptly followed by the Naiman, who reached him, broke his army, and sent them scattering every which way, capturing the wives and children of Toghrul's son, the Sangam Ilka, and then chased the Sangam and the remnants of his army into Karyat territory. And where did poor old Toghrul turn to? Well, to his old friend Temujin. Temujin took in Toghrul and rescued his son, sending his 4 steeds of war, Borochu, Boroqul, Muqali, and Chila'un, as well as his brother Khazar, to go defeat the Naiman army. Temujin must have seen himself as the dominant partner of this relationship now, as he again reinstated Toghrul on his throne. To close off the 12th century and herald in the 13th, the Merkits and the Thirteenth, the tribes which had caused Temujin such misery in his youth, formed an alliance to combat Temujin's growing power. Temujin and Toghrul marched against them and defeated them, capturing his old nemesis Toqto'a. Toqto'a, supposedly so fat now he couldn't even mount a horse, was the man who had led the tribe to abandon Temujin and his family after the death of Esugai, and then captured and humiliated him a few years after that. Somehow, even after all that, Toqto'a was expecting amnesty. Suffice to say, Toqto'a of the Thirteenth would not get any mercy from Temujin. While they were away, Toghrul's brother, Jackmeister, usurped the rule of the Kiryat from Toghrul again, and Temujin was again forced to waste time sorting this out. But while they wasted this time, the enemies of Temujin were beginning to realize that Temujin's ambitions were outside of just dominating the Mongols. His campaigns across the whole of the steppe were beginning to look like a threat to all of the independent powers and tribes, especially to the traditional aristocracy which Temujin, from his murder of Sakabeki to trying to break the Naiman, looked set to destroy as they stood in the way of his power. So, the tribes looked to one man to be their anti-Temujin and waged their war against him. Jamuhka of the Jadaran, Anda of Temujin.